The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riv. I hope everybody had a good Labor Day. And let's see how Commander COVID did over the Labor Day holidays.
It was a busy holiday. Total cases in Massachusetts is 121,214, with an increase of 168 new cases. Total deaths is 8,993, with total new deaths is 8. Bristol County is 9,409. Now, here's the interesting part about it. From Saturday until Monday, the city has 21 new cases of COVID-19, leaving us at 1,982. And we've also been notified of 3 new fatalities, adding up to 127. We kind of figured that was going to happen. I mean, it might be from the movie, the drive-in movie, the last one. It might be from this one. There's a couple of things that could be causing this, but 21 in 4 days seems like a lot to me. So I'm wondering if we're on Wednesday, if they're going to change our status from yellow to red or from yellow to green or whatever the case may be. So we'll have to check and see what that is.
Well, you know, again, COVID reigned supreme, the propaganda machine and all the different blaming, the blame game when even the medical community can't agree. I've seen tremendous divergence of attitudes and opinions and everything else. We've got doctors on there saying that statistically this thing really only has a very narrow group and all this other stuff. So again, it's unfortunate to see a healthcare crisis being used fundamentally for political gain, and that's what it's being done. It's being politicized to the infinite degree. And that's a sad commentary. But hey, it is what it is. And speaking of politics, the council meeting last night. Did you see the council meeting?
Oh, yes,
CJ?
I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Oh,
yes,
yeah. And let's make a deal. La Liberté flipped.
Yep.
Yeah. The reports were she was in there like she did. What was the mayor that she was in there? It actually made the news that she was in there making a deal. She was going in there with her list of demands, what she wanted to do to flip her vote. I hate to tell you this, but your job is supposed to be to make a deal in the best interest of the taxpayers in this city and for the people of this city, not your own agenda. And that's one of the problems. And I will, again, remind these councilors of what our Constitution, our Commonwealth of Massachusetts Constitution says. You are at all times our substitutes and our agents, and at all times answerable to us. But apparently you're not. So that was the beginning of the thing. And then, of course, we had the Mary Sahady bullshit number show. And I don't know if, did you get that text?
No, I didn't get any text from you.
The question was asked, how much do the employees have in their trust fund? And I believe Cliff said 6.5 million. And Mary Sahady said she wasn't aware of that. And then when he said 6.5, she said, no, 5.6 or something like that. Well, that was a flat out lie. And she knows it because she was sitting in the room when we got this, you can't see this because I don't have any idea what a camera is, but this is the last report. And I sent President Ponte, Michelle Dion, and a few other councils whose numbers I know a copy of this. This is the last report that we received. It is dated the account reconciliation up to 6/30/2020 for the Employee Healthcare Trust account reconciliation. And Mary Sahady was sitting in a room when we got this copy, and our employee trust fund got a $2 million bump because of people not going to the doctors, obviously, and putting it off. We knew that. And actually the comment was made, you guys should give the people the holidays. We said, no, we have to see how the claims, if they spike, this is what prudent fiscal responsibility we do. But the number, because you can't see it on the, and anybody that wants it, I will give me your number and I will text them this. The trust fund does not have 6.5, the last report. It was not 5 point whatever she said. And she knew in the room. The number is, drum roll, $8,073,369.42. She only gave them a figure that was $3 million off.
And that's July?
Yeah, well, and this is the key. And then, and oh, by the way, I have to say this. Kudos to Michelle Dion for her providing Mary with figures that she was supposed to have. I don't know if you saw that, Pot, but she actually gave it to Perry from DCM to give to her, and I think she circled it in pink pen, the number that she asked for that Mary didn't have, but she had it. So again, we got a CFO who has to get numbers from the city council that she's making a presentation on those numbers for. And she said, well, I know I should have it, but I don't have it. Well, you don't have anything. Everything you ever give. When we start with the 8% that was 5.7, the 5 million, it's 8 million. And you know what really, I don't even want to, really ticks me off is that this continues to be allowed. And I've had numerous conversations with city councilors about this. When are you going to stop and hold her accountable to give you accurate numbers? How many times are you going to find out that her numbers aren't accurate and then let her off the hook the next time she goes there? Not say, you just got $45,000 worth of pay raises over the last 3 or 4 years. You can't provide us with numbers and you're the financial officer and you make statements like when they said, well, why don't you have money in a trust fund? Well, that would be fiduciarily, irresponsible to let it just sit there. It's not just sitting there. It's there for a reason. It's there in case we have spikes when all the people run to get their surgeries, when all the people run to the doctors that didn't go because of the COVID, and now the $2 million bump becomes a $2 million deficit. And on their side, the $6 million bump, which nobody ever talked about, becomes a $6 million deficit in your premiums. That's the reason that you have a trust fund. When the contributions of the employees do not cover, you have to go into the trust fund. That's why we need it. It's fiduciarily irresponsible not to have enough money in there. And I'm not saying 3 times the amount. But you should have enough to cover 2 or 3 months of spikes. So if they're averaging $2.5 million out of their pocket or $3 million, they should have at least $9 million in there. We got $8 million. And over the years, they've saved $70 million. What is fiduciarily irresponsible is for the city council to pay attention to anything Mary Sahady says. Because look at this city. Look at the fact that we've never, ever had a budget, except in an election year where we always got a ton of money, that wasn't a painful experience in numbers manipulation. Not just the budget that you can just add it and say, okay, but this is it. But I know I had this. I mean, it just pissed me off so much. I mean, just watching that thing, it makes me want to take a chainsaw to my head. So, and I'm sure she'd really like that, but it's not going to happen.
The thing that really bothered me was, it was brought out that $50,000 this year had been put aside in 2020, had been put aside for the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost. $50,000 that they don't pay. And Linda had the nerve to turn around and say, well, it generates business for Fall River. No, it doesn't. It generates business for the Great Feast. She said, I met 2 women who went to Matuk. So 2 people went to Matuk. Matuk is an overpriced towel factory. And 2 people went there. What did that generate for Fall River? Don't tell me that it generated business for Fall River. It generated 2 customers going to Matuk. Nobody else went there. It doesn't benefit all the restaurants. It benefits a couple of them. But those restaurants have no problems because they're Portuguese restaurants. And they're located along South Main Street. As a matter of fact, one of the Portuguese restaurants on South Main Street closes during the Great Feast because they don't want the headaches. They don't want the headaches. So when businesses are closing to avoid the headaches, is it really worth the $50,000? No, it's not. It's a religious feast. Guess what? Make them pay their way. Make them pay their way. It's that simple.
And besides being prohibited by law,
it is not the job of the people.
Separation of church and state.
Right.
But it's you're right. Look, Caravella makes a lot of money, but nothing. Look, that doesn't bring in anything. Those people come here. They stay with relatives, or we don't even have how many hotels do we have in Fall River? They come here. They have food trucks. They eat at the food trucks. They eat at Caravella. They're fundamentally Portuguese people, a lot of them from Canada. They come here and they frequent the Portuguese restaurants. Doesn't do anything. When you look at how much traffic tie-up, safety hazards because of all the rerouting of traffic, the safety, public safety potential, and how much money we give away to a religious organization, which is prohibited by law. There's supposed to be a separation of church and state. Because if we do that, we have to give it to the Mennonites, the Quakers, the Huguenots, and every other religious group, the Mennonites. Anybody that wants to run a festival, come to Fall River, and we're going to pick up the tab. And therein lies the problem, CJ, because nothing makes sense in this city, and you wonder why we have to drain this swamp. It's because of this kind of stuff, and you look at the common denominator. You just look. It's just like last night again. She was called on the 45 million that she added life insurance, and she said, no, that has to be in there. No, it doesn't, because I submit to you, CJ, dental, which is paid separately, is a separate bill.
Right.
Life insurance was a separate bill and paid separate. But the thing is, if her rationale is that it's associated, so therefore it has to be part of it, no. That figure is only for the premium rate, and she was told that, but she refuses categorically. I'm going to tell you something, Mary. I'm going to make your job even easier. You know what I want you to do? Include electricity, water, and every other thing. Because if you're going to make that stretch that dental care has got something to do with money that is earmarked to pay for health care and only health care. Because when Blue Cross looks at the experience and Gallagher looks at the experience, they do not look at the dental plan, the life insurance, or the cost of their services. What they do is they look at how much health care we utilize. So you look, if you go to the hospital, let the hospital add to your medical costs, their electric light bill, their water bill, and every other bill. The hell with it, Mary. Just put the whole damn budget on the health care. Forget about talking about everything else. Everything is related. You're right. It's a budget. But every line item in that budget stands by itself and should be evaluated for what it really is. And for you to say that, you're not that naive and you're not that stupid. You manipulate numbers for your own benefit. And I'll tell you what, when I see that, for the city council to allow her to walk out of that chamber and not admit that $40 million and $42 million is specifically and only for the health care, and it's predicated on the use of the health care. How many people went for surgeries? How many people went to the doctors? How many people ordered drugs? How many people got surgeries and every other thing? Blue Cross doesn't look at the dental plan. Blue Cross does not look at the life insurance. And to allow her to continue to misrepresent figures, $8 million. $8 million. Does this number change? Yeah, because if they take the money out to pay this month's bills before the employee contribution goes up, this may go down. But then it goes back to that number when they take it out of everybody's paycheck. Because guess what? When it's taken out of the employee's check, it has to go to the employee trust fund. So if it goes down $1 million, and then you get $1 million from the payroll deductions, it's back up to $8 million. But $8 million was the figure we got. And for her to say she doesn't know it, you're either not paying attention at the meetings, which wouldn't surprise me, or you're flat out lying. Because you were at the meeting. And if you want to deny it, fine. We've got witnesses. The PEC members were there. You were sitting at the table at the meeting. And I'm sure that Madeline Coelho and the rest of the people from the city would have to admit, if they were going to be truthful, that you were at the meeting and that you got this number and you had full access to this number. This document is signed by the representative who does this, Mary Jo Cadero from Human Resources, and it's signed by the city auditor, Jennifer Argo. So you're going to tell me as the CFO, you don't know this existed? It's not important how much we have in our trust fund? It is so unimportant that you're $3 million off the number? Well, you know something? I'm putting in Michelle Dion for a stipend. She did almost as much work last night as the budget and had more accurate figures than a CFO. So you know something? Let's throw a stipend in a budget for Michelle Dion.
I agree. Why not? She's the only one that seems that's doing any work. But while we're talking about Mary Sahady, she was up for reappointment to the Housing Authority last night. And guess what happened to that reappointment?
Well, it got objected to.
It got objected to. And it goes down to the next meeting. And that's a good thing. Shaw was right. He brought up the fact that the mayor said during his campaign time and when he took office that he was not going to have the chief financial officer doing other jobs, secondary jobs. So, and the mayor finagled it so that Mary Sahady would become the chairman of the Housing Authority Board. Now, here's the problem, and you can document this. You can verify this. She went to the retirement board representing the city and representing the Housing Authority at the same time and try to get the retirement board to have the city pay 1/3, the Housing Authority pay 1/3, and who else pay 1/3? The CDA or one of the other things in the retirement board?
Diamond, I believe it might have been. Yeah, well, whatever it was. It actually, I will actually pull this up. Give me a minute. Keep expounding on that, CJ.
It's a conflict of interest. She's representing two organizations, two parties, which are basically opposite each other in a negotiation, and she's selling it out to make it even for everybody. And she said that the Housing Authority unions agreed to that. I highly doubt that they did that. I highly doubt it. Okay, they're not even.
Well,
the housing
hang
authority
on,
isn't
hang
even
on.
1/3 of the budget for the retirement board. Did
How
you
come
ever
I can't access that
Did
thing
you ever
now?
figure out? You ever figure out how much the retirement board was? The housing authority, what percentage that was?
I'm sorry, CJ, you're breaking up. I can't.
I said, did you ever
Did I figure out how much?
the percentage of the housing authority is in the retirement system?
Yeah, I did, but off the top of my head, I can't. But it's extremely small amount. But I'm trying to get into something here, and I for some reason it won't allow me to get into the thing now because I guess because it's off the same tab, and because I actually will do this, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually open up another window here, and I'm going to actually read it to you, because she fundamentally used her position on the housing authority to take a vote of the board, and I questioned her at the meeting, and you can watch the video, and said that the unions agree to this, and she said, "Oh no, the board voted for it." Well, you're voting in your own self-interest, which obviously is not
Ethical.
because you're creating a vote which will enhance a position you're going to take as a city official. So they were going to pay 33% of the bill that was in question. And I can't believe this. This is just ridiculous. But they comprise nowhere near 33% of the group. Not even close. They're an extremely small part of the retirees group, and it was crazy. But I am finally negotiating to that section here, and this is the problem. She knows how to do one thing: spend money. As she said, it was fiduciarily not in the best interest of the city to leave that sitting in an account. That's like saying it's not in your best interest to have any money in a savings account in case you run into an unexpected thing like the bills exceeding the money that you have budgeted for, like your electric bill or something. It's like don't have any reserves. Don't have any cash reserves available to you at all if you have, a budget. It's like, okay, run your budget with not a dime to spare and on projections. And by the way, she did admit under questioning by Michelle Dion, she did admit that the projections for how much we're going to get from stop loss and everything else were just, in fact, that projections. I mean, they've always been fairly accurate. I will say that. They're very good at it, but they are subject to maybe not being as much or maybe even being more. The only guaranteed part of it, the only guaranteed part of that was the funding from the drug carve-out, which they guarantee us a minimum amount, and we can only go up, not below. But stop loss, et cetera, are all projections based on tracking of the, how much various employees' healthcare bills are. We don't know the names of the employees because of HEPA, but we do track the billing of certain of people when they get near the stop loss limit, because once we hit that, we will be compensated. We will collect from the insurance company. So, what's fiduciary irresponsible is to do this year after year after year. Flanagan had an $8 million deficit. We had a $4.7 million. Why do we continue running into deficits? Because we are the definition of insanity. We always do the same thing, which is spend money, spend money, spend money, never really fully fund anything, just pay bills that we're supposed to have on a regular basis by taking it out of the stabilization fund, the general fund, and everywhere else, shoot craps with these numbers, and then it blows up, and we have this circus at the 11th hour that we had last night. So, and who are the victims of this irresponsibility? It is the people, the taxpayer.
That's right.
And that is wrong. That is wrong. So this is absolutely nuts. And I am going to have that momentarily, I think. I will have what I want to, because I think it's really important that we know that this is, I would encourage anybody, if they can get the archives, because the meeting that this occurred at was videotaped, and it was in an open meeting. So I think it's really important to see how and why Mary Sahady should not be on anything like she shouldn't be in the housing authority, period. I think that Mayor Coogan said when he got in office that she was going to resign from the housing authority board. Correct. So rather than resigning, they're giving her a promotion. So I think that's really not a campaign promise kept, is it?
He hasn't kept a lot of campaign promises. He hasn't kept a lot of campaign promises. So that's nothing new.
True. But yeah, I mean, last night's meeting was very, very enlightening. I hope a lot of people watched it. You saw the people who were actually paying attention, and kudos to the 4 people who voted against this budget, because I'll tell you what, as difficult as it is to run a 112, as difficult as it is to run a 112 budget, I wouldn't, if I were a counselor, I would never vote for any budget until I was 100% sure that all the numbers were correct.
Well, here's the thing that got me.
And
we're running out of time, so we've got to get this out quick. Here's the thing that got me. They did not remove any money from any line items last night at all. They left them there. And Mary Sahady said, well, that lets the departments move it around where they need it. That's baloney. That money should have been removed. It's that simple. You don't leave $50,000 in the overtime account for a special event that's not going to happen. You take that money out of there. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I can't. How much? I got to go back to the other connection here, because this is really upsetting me here.
Well, that's
because
okay.
We're down to a couple of minutes.
We're just about out of time here. We got less than a minute.
On the next show, on Friday's show, I will have the minutes of that meeting, and I will show you that I had to remind Mrs. Sahady of the fact that our attorney said that we could not just take her recommendation, because PERAC would require us to work fiduciarily responsibly and send out for an RFP, not just take her hand-picked people. And I will read it verbatim, so it's not my words. It'll be right out of the meeting, and it was a public meeting, and I will give you the date so you can watch the entire video.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for inviting us into your home. Stay safe and stay angry.
Stipends for the 4 people who voted against the budget.